Hello there, this is John Hyman from Commercial Real Estate Online. Welcome to the program. This is the show where I like to share information relating to sales, leasing and property management in commercial real estate around the world. Indeed, the audience for the program is large. So make sure you subscribe here and get the other tips, tools and ideas as we put them out. And in this particular program today, I'm going to focus down into the leasing of shopping centres, and most particularly the tenancy mix process, the assessment of a tenancy mix. So it is time to grab a notebook, come back with your notebook and maybe a cup of coffee and look through the program. There'll be some ideas here that you can use. I'll catch you at the other end. And so shopping centre leasing, it's a big topic. Of course, I have put other videos out on this topic, and today I'm going to go a bit further into the tenancy mix side of things. But that's our website, by the way, commercial-realestate-training.com. And if you haven't visited there before, you can do so and get plenty of tips, tools and ideas in commercial real estate brokerage around the world. So now let's go into this particular program, and it's all about tenancy mix activity, mainly for the retail shopping centre leasing experts and also for the retail shopping centre managers. So, vacancy exposure. I'm going to go down into this particular topic here, which is the tenancy mix. Now, tenancy mix, there is a particular article on the website that you may wish to print from this. This is the article. It's 10 ways to prevent high vacancy factors and tenant turnover, particularly in a retail shopping centre. And there are some issues here that you can copy and work through. It's how to set up a tenant management system in your leasing and centre management activities. So that is the article. Make sure you get a copy of it and work with it. So right now today I'm going to cover down into the tenant mix review process. There are many different things here for you to think about, and I've put them in different categories. I will explain, and of course you can make your notes from this. So why would you review a tenancy mix? Well, firstly, to review the tenancy mix is to put tenants in better positions, also to find the right tenants, and also to resolve vacancies before they occur. Of course, the shopping centre industry and also retail leasing is going through a reasonable amount of change and churn at the moment for all sorts of reasons. One of the reasons, of course, is aligned to the fact that there is some internet impact on some retail shops and trade. But there's all sorts of other reasons going on at the moment as well. So let's look at a tenancy mix review and how you can bring that into your leasing services in your location as a property specialist focusing on retail. So I would start with existing merchandise groups, to understand the existing merchandise groups in a particular property, to review them. That is entertainment and leisure, fashion, food tenants. The general tenants in the property may be service related, health and beauty, lifestyle, major stores of course, and the service type tenants throughout the property. And all the specialties will be through these various categories as well. So that's where you start. You look at what you've got in the different merchandise groups. So where do you go to from there? Then I would look at the clusters of tenants. When you look at the clusters, you can understand where different elements of the property are working and where they're not working. Now, a lot of shopping centres have food courts, so that is a big equation which services customers to the property. You've got to know that the food court tenants are servicing the customers in the correct way, and the balance of the food offering is correct for the customer demographic. So that's the obvious one. But then you've got to look at the merchandise group balances to understand that you've got the right merchandise groups in the property and how they're working together. Then you'll look at the central mall and the mix of tenants down through the central mall, and then you'll also look at the doorways and entrances. So they are the clusters that you would look at. The clusters initially in understanding how the property works, because clusters together will create more sales. That's the story. Let's go further. So then we have a critical dates review. And in a critical dates review, I would be working on the fact of what the leases are doing, how they impact the tenants, how they impact the landlord, the investment and the vacancies. So critical dates come from the lease. And what are they? Expiry dates, incentive dates, incentive changes, landlord-related covenants, the maintenance obligations in the property on the landlord and on the tenants, the option dates, the outgoings dates for recovery of outgoings, the renewal dates for the lease, renovation dates for the property, also rent review dates, and tenant-related covenants. So the word covenants, if you don't know what it means, is really relates to the lease clauses for the tenant and the lease clauses for the landlord. So let's go further. I would then look at the expansion and contraction requirements within the tenancy mix. So, who do I want to relocate? Perhaps some of the tenants. Then, of course, you'll have A-grade tenants and B-grade tenants. You'll be servicing all of your A-grade tenants as a priority. The B-grade tenants you may not be worried about particularly so. So let's go further from that. Let's go to the next one here, and that will be the lease terms and conditions. So when you look at the lease terms and conditions with every tenant, some of them may have exclusivity, some of them may have a permitted use. There'll be terms and conditions geared to the particular tenant. There'll be terms and conditions geared to the particular landlord. So you've got to know what those things are. So after you've done that, then relate into the property business plan. Every shopping centre should have a business plan. It doesn't matter if it's a small or a large shopping centre, it should have a business plan. Covering off on the budgets for the property, that is income and expenditure. And then you've got the expenditure expectations and how that will work, and the income expectations based on occupancy and the allowance for vacancies. So all of those things actually go together. That's part of the property business plan. It's reviewed quarterly, created annually. Then there'll be a property performance strategy, which will be written into the business plan, and it might take into account renovations, relocations, all sorts of other issues in the particular area. Then you'll go down into the shopping centre marketing strategy that could apply for the particular property. So that's the property business plan. From that point, then I would talk to the tenants, because I now, by this point in time, understand the leases, the focus of the landlord. So now I've got to find out what the tenants are doing. So that's part of the tenancy mix review. So here it is here. What do I do as part of the tenant interviews? I'll talk to the A-grade tenants, of course, as a priority, and the anchor tenants, the B-grade tenants in a different way, perhaps, depending on whether I really need them in the future. Then I'll look for and explore any occupancy issues with particular tenants. I'll also examine the permitted use provisions of the lease to make sure that tenants are staying within that. And of course, assess all the specialty tenants for their functionality and suitability for the customer demographic. Then, of course, there's tenant marketing and how successful the tenants may be in sales from their activities in the property market. So from that, I'll go down into a tenant retention plan, and every good shopping centre should have a tenant retention plan. That is to keep the tenants that you want to keep. And of course, they will be A-grade tenants. Perhaps the B-grade tenants, but certainly the A-grade tenants and the anchor tenants. As part of the tenant retention plan, you'll need to look at your merchandise groups again, which I mentioned earlier, and your clusters again, and then understand the maintenance obligations as part of tenant retention and all the tenant works in the building. So, moving on to another assessment here as part of the tenant mix review, the shop fronts. So what is the shop front presentation? Is it good? Is it bad? Should it be upgraded? Should it be a term of the lease as part of occupancy into the future? Can you write a shop front upgrade into the lease renewal for the tenant? Perhaps you can. Now from that, I'll go into vacancy factors within the property. Lease expiry dates. I'll be looking 18 months out in that particular case, so I can see everything that's coming at me. Then I'll look at the lease terms on offer relating to the property, the market rents, the lease rents to be offered to sitting tenants versus those to new tenants. Then the current market conditions, the current market rent conditions locally, also the current vacancies and any expansion and contraction requirements that I need to merge into the vacancy allowance. In other words, if I have a vacancy, I might be able to merge some tenancies, grow some tenancies, or relocate people. And the last issue here are the option dates. So when you look at all these things, this is part of a tenant mix review process. They are the things that I've just gone through here with you. Of course, you can go through the video again and write them down. And of course, go to the website and make sure you get this particular article, which is 10 ways to prevent high vacancy factors and tenant turnover. And most particularly, it's in a shopping centre. It's a leasing type article, and you can print it off from the website. There are the points there that you can print off and use in your strategy in commercial real estate. So when you think about it, there's a lot to look at when it comes to tenant mix review in commercial real estate, retail real estate, and shopping centre management and leasing. The tenant mix review should be done regularly as part of this strategy, and perhaps you can add more to this particular list. I would like you to, of course, if there's something that you can add to this list as part of your special property, your special location, and or your town or city. So going back up to the top here, there are many other topics in this particular matrix, and I'll go into these others in other videos as well. And when you look at our website, here it is here, Commercial Real Estate Online. That is commercial-realestate-training.com. So this is John Hyman. I've gone through a number of things there to help you with tenant mix review. I hope you can do something with that, because the tenant mix side of shopping centre management and leasing is so important to getting results for the landlord and also in the recovery of rental, which could actually impact your management fees as well, depending on how those management fees are calculated. So in closing, I do thank you for listening. This is John Hyman. I'll catch you again online with another video relating to this particular matrix and others. And this one, of course, is all about shopping centre leasing. Catch you soon.